Hello, everybody. So this is a very special episode of Nurturing the Future, 1001 Days to Save the World, because we are going not only live as a podcast, but we're also filming this as a video because it was too good an opportunity to not capture the content twice. Because we have Aine on today to talk all about her amazing work supporting and guiding parents through the experience of reflux, which is something that I experienced with my own daughter, Emily, 20 years ago, which kind of led me to discover baby massage. And it's something which I believe causes a lot of suffering, and there's a lot of misconception about it. There's a lot of not much awareness about it before you have a baby, and I think it's really important to share this. So I'm very excited to have you here today. Thank you so much for coming on.
I'm delighted to be here, Gayle. Thank you so much. Sorry, I tried to combine Gayle and Berry there.
I come out as Gary. Gary, I like that. I could just be short and just Gary from now on.
No, thank you very much. I mean, as you said, it's this first part of life in the human experience that is so important. And you said you experienced reflux 20 years ago. My experience is a little bit more recent, but it's coming up on 9 years ago. And before my daughter was born, I knew nothing about reflux. I didn't even know it was something babies could get. And when I was preparing for birth, it was never mentioned. Never mentioned. This is one of the things that really gets my goat up every single week, is that in every antenatal class, every future parent is told about cesarean section, for example, where we might get 25% of the population having to go through that either planned or in an emergency situation. So everybody's sort of prepared. When it comes to reflux, the estimates across the UK and the US alone are that 50% of babies born will experience reflux. And there is no awareness given about it at all. And then the treatment that's provided and support provided to parents and babies after birth, it doesn't feel like that the system supports babies. It doesn't feel like the system listens to children when it says this is normal. It's normal for your baby to be crying in pain, or it's not pain, that's just what they are, and the problem is with you and your observation, your perception of your child's pain. And that's what I got. I was told it was my anxiety, it was my fault, it was me that the problem was with, not my child. And so it turned into an incredible passion. My journey was 3 years through postnatal depression with 2 children who between them had official diagnoses of colic, reflux, silent reflux, cow's milk protein allergy, and multiple other food intolerances and allergies, including sulfites, nut allergy, which was the wrong nut, was actually identified. And so it was a long journey. And the only way I eventually managed to essentially escape postnatal depression, because I wasn't depressed enough for support. I was sort of borderline.
Wow.
And I mean, that's a whole other story in its own right on my own mental health at the time. But was when I had figured out what had been going on, and this is all retrospective for me, I wasn't there to help myself, but I vowed that I would do everything in my power to change and to do what I could to prevent any other family going through the journey that we had the first 3 years of being a family. I have blocked out so much of my kids' infancy because it was not anything. There was no newborn nurture. It wasn't a pleasant time to look back on, and I don't deserve to look back on that and want to forget it. And it's very hard to remember the bits that were joyous because they were so few and far between.
Wow. Yeah, I really love that, and I totally resonate with you on the idea that so much in antenatal classes is about birth, which of course is so important, and how we enter into the world can profoundly affect and influence, our early experiences. However, birth is an event that occurs, whereas the journey with your child is one that you take for life. And as you've quite rightly said, you can hold on to memories, you can hold on to judgments around yourself, or it can affect how you bond with your child or perceive yourself as a mother. And that's something for life, potentially, because not everyone has the capacity or the ability to hold that space for themselves to unravel perhaps why they're feeling like that. And I totally agree. Like we have a course called Baby Confidence, which tries to tackle these issues, in that actually what we should really potentially be offering parents, inviting parents to look at is, what are some of the things which you might experience as a parent, particularly at the beginning when it feels a bit like in free fall. And I think reflux, colic, the importance of touch, the importance of containment is really, really something that I'm really passionate about. Like, babies are just coming into the world. We don't, the idea of expansion for babies initially is actually really overwhelming when their nervous systems are so sensitive to their environment. What we really want to be doing is creating a love bubble, like outside of the womb, to hold them as they just very, very gently start to experience everything. And yet that's just not available in free classes to most parents. You have to seek it out and you have to invest in it, which I believe, investing in yourself and your child and your family is absolutely the best thing that you could do. But it's not accessible to everybody, and it'd be amazing if it could be.
Absolutely. I mean, I love that creation of a love bubble outside of the womb. It's a magical, because I often talk to parents, and actually a lot of the students when I teach, they're going, but how can this be like so much of a change to a child? It's like, well, because we kind of accept birth as normal, so therefore we treat them, oh, now you're on the outside, this is the world. And one of the things, like, I have met clients whose children were had actually developed reflux purely from overstimulation. Wow. Because the child had literally spent the entire first week going, oh my goodness, what's going on? Oh! And being wired, the entire the adrenals on high alert, everything on high alert. Because, and I will say, this was pre-pandemic, where you'd go to a class, and this was my life 9 years ago, with my antenatal friends and that cohort, and it was a competition to go, my baby's a bit more, right, I need to go for coffee. Day 3, I'm out of the house, look at me, I'm winning. As opposed to, my baby just needs to gradually see what's in front of them. My baby needs this love bubble to go, okay, so we're expanding from being like this to, okay, oh, hang on. And like, I have this conversation with parents and students going, imagine you went to sleep and you woke up and you were on Mars and somebody ripped off your duvet, you had no clothes, and you're like, whoa, okay, where am I? Like, how would you process that? You might freak out. You would certainly go, oh, this is new. It's kind of trying to get analogies. I just trying to get analogies for what a child might be feeling, because in truth, I've got no idea what anybody else on this earth is feeling. And correlating that to how we might perceive it. And when I do that, I just see people's eyes going, oh, I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I use the love bubble analogy a lot. And my new book that's coming out is called The Love Bubble for this reason, because I believe that the womb is the ultimate love bubble. Because if you think about it, you're experiencing unconditional love. That is unconditional love. You are in full connection with your parent. You have all your needs on tap. You're rocked, you're massaged, you have your food, you're perfectly regulated. Obviously that you can be influenced by stress hormones from your mummy as well, but we're trying our best to look after and encourage you know, parents and carers to look after themselves. And then, as you said, then you leave that love bubble, that unconditional love where you experience oneness. For the first time, you have separation, and just like on a physical, emotional, and soul level, you are coming from one to be separate. And that's why I'm such an advocate for got the golden hour and skin to skin immediately after birth, because the body knows, the body recognizes immediately, okay, here is my mother's heartbeat, here is the sound of the voice, here is the skin, the mum's body can regulate baby's body temperature, heart rate, breathing rate effortlessly. So the body is the regulator, because babies have experienced the world through their felt senses. This is how we can communicate safety, trust, which then allows the nervous system to come back into balance and harmony, which then supports all of the things that you talk about, like digestion.
Yeah, I mean, even skin to skin is, sorry, just picking up on that golden hour, that skin to skin is absolutely vital to start feeding an infant's gut health and their gut microbiome. Everybody goes and people, and I will say this now, there's a misconception that is still lingering that a baby's gut is sterile at birth. It's not. There are low levels of microbes and stuff in amniotic fluid that they are producing and communicating with. So they have something. The next thing is how they're born. And again, lots of people freak out going, well, babies are born by C-section, therefore they're not getting gut flora, so it's going to impact their whole life. It has an impact. It's not the be all and end all. So for babies who are born by section, we should be absolutely prioritizing skin to skin with mum and or dad as soon as possible to get them that microbiome exposure, and for any, and I am very much about what can we do. The power of the human body to establish its correct homeostasis, the correct balance and health is second to nothing else we can ever conceive, provided we give it the tools it needs. And we have the power and capability to do this throughout our entire lives. We can literally reverse aging if we treat our bodies correctly. Gut health, we've got 3 years to lay the blueprint and the foundation for a child's gut health for the rest of their life. It's not impossible to change it for the rest of your life. It's just more difficult. It's not impossible. You can change gut health and impact it at any stage of your life, providing we give it the right tools. So I don't want people to get scared that, well, baby wasn't born by C-section and we didn't do this and they weren't breastfed and whatever. That's kind of okay, that's where we're at. So let's look at what else we can do to support these children. You and I growing up, I'm sure we're the same. We were out in the garden and it didn't matter if you didn't wash your hands before you ate. You kind of ate the dirt.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my husband has been caught eating worms on more than one occasion under the age of 5.
You're going to say recently?
I haven't caught him. I'm not going to say it hasn't happened. I'm not there all the time. But there's almost this fascination, and especially in the last 2 years. In the last 2 years, and I had a conversation with our mutual friend Jenny Harrison about this 2 years ago, the beginning of the first lockdown. And this constant obsession with washing your hands and using soap and not touching anything somebody else has touched, not being in a community environment, means even as adults, we're not exposing ourselves to the normal bacteria of everyday life that would support the development and education of the immune system. The same goes for children. I am meeting parents where, so gut health, the ability of the digestive system, maturity of it, where it stands, can play a massive impact in how a child experiences reflux, colic, digestive discomfort, etc. And so I am meeting parents whose children have not met anybody outside the family unit for 7 or 8 months. They've not been exposed to the world. And there's an element which also has a massive impact on the hormonal system, which is the fear element that has been driven and that is driving you know, don't go out, don't see people, you'll get sick, you'll get COVID. And the subconscious impact of this on the endocrine system, on our stress levels, you know, stress impacts pregnancy. Stress in pregnancy can be a trigger for reflux. It's not it, and I want to make sure people understand, when we understand what is any particular specific cause for any child, we then work to address that at the root cause. And if it is a stress caused reflux, we rebalance the nervous system. You know, very simple things like breathing, like contact, baby massage, things that get the parent into a calm space of mind, that will influence baby directly. Things like singing, because when we sing, we take a deep breath and then we release it really slowly.
Yeah, and it also, singing as well, you know, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, because you're working with the vagus nerve as well. So all of these things, what I think is amazing is, you know, it is a cliche, but we can heal ourselves through our own bodies. Our bodies are designed for pregnancy, for birth, for infancy, and the postnatal period, you know, to be able to provide all of those things effortlessly when we trust and feel empowered within ourselves to just go with what feels in alignment with you. And now obviously that I don't want to vanilla flavor that either, because for everyone has a different relationship with touch, a different relationship with connection, everything like that. So, you know, a really important part, I think, when entering into any conversations like this around parenting, is just to suspend any expectation, any judgment, any shaming that you might have of yourself, that you did this or you didn't do that, or I should be doing this. It is whatever feels in alignment with you and your baby, whether you're going through a journey through reflux or colic, or whether you know your baby is you know, whatever your baby's experiencing. Really, the biggest gift for you and your baby, from my point of view, is just embracing them now, the moment. Okay, so you know, you're experiencing something which you may perceive as difficult or hard or challenging. So what can you do, stripping it back to those basics? What can you do to communicate safety, trust, and to regulate your emotion, your nervous system and baby's nervous system, using, as you said, breath, physical contact, eye contact, talking. Like, I'm really huge on like containment, you know, because the nervous system loves containment, because we're going back to the love bubble again. That's what we, you know, associate with, that's with security and safety. So I think that it's, you know, really empowering for people listening today to know that you have everything you need to support yourself, as long as you feel in an environment that you can activate that, and you're not listening to the noise of, as you said, health professionals, or you know, different sources of news that we hear, that it's like, oh, your baby should be doing this, or that's wrong, or your baby's sick, or your baby's not sick, or all of that. It's that stuff that actually sends us into the chaos and makes everything else feel so much, all the stress feels amplified, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's this element of trusting yourself as a parent, and I will say this speaking to every single parent who's listening or watching, you know your child better than anybody else on this earth. And you are, for the next, you know, whatever, 14, 16, 30 years, the custodian of their health until they're old enough to make these decisions for themselves. And my advice to every parent is, as long as you can say to your child when they're 16 years old, I made this decision at that time based on this information that I had. And as long as you make the best decision with the resources you have available at the time, that's all anybody can ask of you.
Absolutely.
And those resources include how much sleep you've had. Those resources include how much stress you're under from work, from life, from pressure. Because on a day where you've spent the whole day on the beach and you know you've had time to yourself and whatever, you will make different decisions to the day when, you know, you might be in the middle of a building project and you got builders shouting down your neck, and baby they've got their jabs, you got that organized, they may have diarrhea as well, and they might have colic and reflux, and the stress piles up. The decisions we make in these different scenarios are very different, and it's okay to accept that those decisions, you know, because we're not able to process everything at the same time. We're human. And the biggest thing this leads me on to is to trust yourself. If, as a parent, that you feel your baby is more unsettled than you think they should be, they probably are. And this is not about a doctor or a healthcare professional or a midwife or anybody else saying, you need to get used to your baby crying because babies cry. For me, it's like, your baby's crying. They're trying to communicate. They might be saying, I need a hug. They might be saying, I'm hungry. They might be saying, I'm in pain. They might be saying, I stubbed my little toe on the cot and nobody saw it. We don't know what they're saying until we start to tune into them. And all of us, you know, depending on how long ago it was, but every single one of us was fluent in baby once upon a time. So when we start listening and paying attention to the being that is with us, we can really start to pick up on what they're saying. And there are lots and lots of tools and people like yourself and myself and hundreds others out there who are available to help decode what babies are trying to tell us.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I talk about, as well as holding babies physically, we also need to hold space for babies. So holding that actual space to witness them and to tune in and to communicate so that they know that they're seen and heard. Because, you know, as you said, these are little human beings. Like, for some reason, culturally, there has been a construct, particularly in the last 100 years, that babies are in some way different to adults. You know, like when I was researching my talk for Nurturing the Future, up until 1940, babies were routinely operated on without anaesthetic, and it was not illegal to operate on babies without anaesthetic in the US until 1984. So, I mean, you know, that is just incredible. The way that we perceive babies is in somehow having different emotional needs to us. And, you know, this is how we are treating our children. Like like you, I get so passionate about this because I'm like, these are human beings coming into the world as carers and parents. We are their guardians, we're their guides. We are a reflection of the values that our world holds. And when we come with not knowing the answers, because you know, nobody knows what's happening, we have no control of it, but when we come and we gift our presence and we tune in and we hold space and we create safety for ourselves and our baby, and we just allow ourselves to be present and co-create with our babies from a place of knowing, I don't know anything. Like, you know, baby doesn't know anything, we're just in this together. There is so much power and beauty in that. And if you continue that, you know, my children are now 20, 18 and 16, and I can honestly say I'm still doing that. I'm still holding space for my children because I still don't know how to be a mother of a 20-year-old. And my daughter Emily doesn't know how to be in a relationship as a 20-year-old with her mother. You know, just like when she was 8 weeks old and I was, you know, 27. Nobody knows because it's all arising in that moment, you know. And I think it's so important to from a soul perspective, just from a self-love, kindness perspective, to just release yourself from the expectation and just to accept this is where I am. As she said, that doesn't mean, as you said, and we'll go on to talk about this because I'm sure people listening really want to kind of know, it doesn't mean there aren't things that you can activate and practices that you can bring into your life, but it all starts from that point of acceptance. This is where I am, and how can I choose to be the most loving and kind to myself and my baby through this, if it's reflux, quite challenging. You know, let's be honest, it is very, very challenging. You know, we both had colicky babies. You feel like there's something wrong with you, there's something wrong with them, you're going mad, it never stops, you can't sleep, you try everything, you're frustrated, you know, like, it is hard. These are challenging emotions. But there is ways through this. So I'd love for you to share, because obviously you've been doing this, you've written your book, which I have on my shelf right now. That was quite a few years ago, but now you have your practitioner training, which means that in the same way with our teachers, you are activating this in the world, and that's what gets me so excited. It's that ripple effect of knowing that, you know, both of us, when we were practitioners, could serve X number of people every year, but once you have that beautiful collective of guides going out into the world, then that's how we can really change it up.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit about how you created that and what that experience is?
Is this the practitioner training?
Well, just sort of how you have kind of revealed what it is that you find is the most nurturing for parents if they're coming in contact with you and your methodology or your community.
Yeah, well, the first thing I want parents to know is that while reflux is officially termed gastroesophageal reflux disease, it's not actually a disease. It never was, and it never will be. And the reason I say this is because there is no underlying pathology that's common to every child with reflux. Okay, if you get COVID, that categorizes as a disease because there are, you know, you get a blood test, you do a stick a thing up your nose and twirl it a bit. There is an identifiable virus or a pathogen that every single person with COVID will have been exposed to. When it comes to reflux, and this is why it is so challenging for the medical profession to, some kids will get diagnosed, an official diagnosis, others won't. Some will be told it's colic and then it will manifest and create, you know, become suddenly reflux when it doesn't subside by the age of 12 weeks, etc. There is no one set of symptoms that all children have. There isn't even one symptom that every single child with reflux will always present with and that we can go, that child has reflux. In my practice, I've started, so my background is actually traditional Chinese medicine and mechanical engineering. Two very opposite things to talk about.
Oh, you've just frozen. We've just lost a little bit of contact here. Let's just see if Aine is going to be coming back. Aine, can you hear me? Let's just wait and see. Hold on one moment. Those of you who are listening, I think her Wi-Fi may have just dropped out. This is what happens when you're doing live. Let's see. Give her a little moment. Hello.
I'm sorry, my internet just died.
No, that's fine. I believed that you would be back, so I just held on.
Thank you.
It's like, don't worry, she'll be back. It's taken us about 2 years to be able to get into this moment. So I was like, I'm not going to let this go. Okay, I'm just going to wait and receive her back. She's back. Okay. So you were just saying about the fact that there is no one diagnosis.
Yeah, and my background is a combination of traditional Chinese medicine meets mechanical engineering, which seems like east meets west in a really, really crazy way. But both of these modalities of looking at anything, there's one question every single time when we encounter a problem, and it's what's causing this? What's causing this? In engineering, it's called root cause analysis. When you get a problem, let's go all the way back to the beginning and find out where is the origin of this problem, because when we address the origin, we get a cascade of benefits when we address the underlying root cause. I did that in project management, I did that in programs, I did it like as a professional career for 14, 15 years, and I was really good at it. In traditional Chinese medicine, when any client comes into us, you know, the Chinese, quite rightly, look at the presentation of you as you are right now, and you know, the back pain or the migraines or the cold you have or whatever that's going on for you, that's been influenced by every single thing that has happened to you and your body in your life up to this point. Everything. So when you go for an acupuncture assessment, you'll go in with a sore back and they'll ask you how you were born. And you're like, what? Really? And it's all about understanding what's the path, what's the journey that this body has been on to get to here. So when we start looking at what is causing a baby to be in pain, to experience discomfort, to why are they crying? What's causing them to cry? We start to look at things differently. We start to go, well, okay, hang on. Oh, they might be tired. They might be hungry, because we start going into this, oh, how long is it since they've eaten? And with a child who has reflux, every parent will tell you that they know the high pitch scream is one that's saying, Mommy, Daddy, parent, please help me. This isn't comfortable over here. They are desperately trying to communicate. And they are communicating with over 80 different symptoms, patterns, behaviors that I look at for every single child. And when we start to look at everything that's going on for a child, we start to be able to put pieces together. So I liken what I do to a 1,000-piece jigsaw. The medical profession will do this jigsaw. They've thrown away the cover. They don't know what it looks like. Don't care anymore. And they've got the pieces turned the other way around. So they're doing it now with the green cardboard background. So it's not impossible to do the right thing, but it's very difficult to do that jigsaw. The way myself and any of the baby reflux specialists I've trained, what we do is we get that picture back and we've turned over all the pieces. Now, these pieces are basic representations of symptoms, behaviors, patterns, and signs any baby will have. You know, if you pick up a piece of a jigsaw, you look at it, you go, oh, that's pink. And you refer to the picture and you're like, okay, there's 3 or 4 splodges of pink. It could go anywhere there. You then start to find some more pieces that fit with that. The more pieces that fit with it, or the more symptoms that go with it, allows you to hone in and go, I not only know it goes in this piece of the jigsaw, I know the orientation it goes in. And therefore, we now know what is the cause, what's going on. When we know the cause, we know what to do about it. You know, there are so many, there's over 30 different things that can cause or contribute to reflux in an infant. And this is why knowing what that is means we will choose the right direction to go to. So let's say, let's say you want to go to London today. What direction? Do you have to go north, south, east, or west to go to London?
Me, I have to go. I'm going from east into sort of the centre.
Yeah, so you have to go west. However, if I took the same approach as you and said, right, I'm going to go to London because I want London to be my reflux-free destination, and I'm going to go west, it's going to take me about 3 years because I've got to go all the way around the world first. Actually, I'll never get to London because I'm southwest of London. So I'll get to Cornwall and I'll get to New York, but I won't get to London. So understanding exactly where we're starting from will give us the foundation to know, well, what is the right direction to go to our journey to our destination of being reflux free or having a baby who's not struggling with pain anymore. So, people come to me all the time going, my baby drinks this milk and this is how they were born. What do I do? I'm like, I genuinely don't know, because I need to have and look at all of these symptoms to understand exactly where they are first. And that's what, my book walks people through, understanding and capturing all of these symptoms. I have a free symptoms tracker that lists all of these symptoms for parents. And we also need to look at how frequently they get them and how severe they are. For a baby who gets hiccups, that's an important thing to know about. But if they get hiccups 7 times a day, it's very different to getting hiccups once every 7 days. They tell us very different things. So I got into this because that was the question I was asking. I was asking every doctor, why is my baby crying? Why is she in pain? What's wrong with her? And everybody told me, she's fine. She's all right. This is your anxiety. You need to stop worrying about her. You need to get used to babies crying, because that's what they do. I am so happy that I didn't understand at the time, but I trusted myself. And I believed that she was trying to tell me she was uncomfortable. And even though I was told by the health visitor when she was 6 weeks old to put her down and leave her, the health visitor said after 20 minutes, I gave up. I was in tears listening to my baby crying because I'd never let her out of my arms to this point. And I was explaining to the health visitor how she wouldn't sleep or couldn't sleep. The health visitor told me, you're making a rod for your own back. You're spoiling her by carrying her all the time. Put her down for 20 minutes. She screamed because she was in pain. And the health visitor decided to diagnose this as, no, she's just the most stubborn child I've met in 30 years of being a health visitor. After which I kindly asked her to leave my house and I never saw her again. But I trusted myself. And while I did not have the answers, I had no idea what was going on for my child. We didn't get a silent reflux diagnosis till she was 5.5 months old. But what I did do every single day was trust myself and trust her. And I carried her and I held her and I connected with her. Like, she was in the carrier. So I love this. And we still did this heart to heart. Like, our hearts could see each other and communicate directly all the time. And even though both of my kids struggled with reflux and pain and discomfort, I know that they're okay because at least at the very minimum, I reminded them that I'm here. I reminded them that they're safe. And, there is nothing that breaks the heart of a parent more than holding a child who's in pain and being unable to do anything to help it. Like, that is heartbreaking. And I want to reassure every parent out there that there is, when we start to understand that there is so much more we can do. It's not about medicating because that doesn't address the underlying cause. We need to understand, are these babies struggling with feeding? Have they got some jaw misalignment from a traumatic birth? Have they got an oral restriction, a tongue tie, a lip tie, a buccal tie that's physically impeding how their mouth wants to move? Have they got plagiocephaly, flat spots on their head? Is their body physically out of balance? Like, I don't like to say, I just get rid of the words of anything being wrong. The body can be imbalanced. And when we rebalance it, it starts to work and everything then starts to calm down. Are these children overstimulated? Are they having food that they simply cannot digest yet? And that's causing their digestive system to be essentially not quite overactive, but not work in perfect harmony with itself. That then present with outward symptoms of eczema and hives and rashes and congestion. Like, there is so much going on that when we start paring it back and peeling it back and looking at it from a point of view of that jigsaw puzzle, we're able to put pieces together and go, okay, well, this child needs a tongue tie revision or an oral assessment. This child just needs calming. They're actually wired. Their levels of adrenaline and cortisol are way too high, and they're trying to sleep like this, going, I'm tired, Mum, I can't close my eyes. So how do we address these things for the right child? There are so many things that I feel really uncomfortable saying to parents, try this or try that, which is what most people out there do, is like, try elevating the cot, try holding them up, try making the bottle like this, try feeding them in this position, try this. All of those things have their place if they are addressing that underlying root cause. There's no point going to an oral assessment and having a tongue tie assessment for a child who's feeding absolutely perfectly and has perfect oral function, because that might not be the thing. And I meet too many parents that say, we've tried everything. And what's happened is they've tried the things, but in the wrong order. And therefore, the directions didn't get them to the right place because they went 2 steps south before going 2 steps east, and they end up in different locations. So it's really important for me that we have the integrity of taking every single child as a unique representation of a human and their experience, and we look at that, and then based on what they're going through, make decisions for what are the right actions for them. And parents, that's why I wrote the book, is to get this information available to parents. There's online courses available that do it in a little bit quicker time because people can listen to it rather than having to sit down and read. And then there's one-to-one support with me or any of the many baby reflux ladies and professionals who are now scattered across the world. You know, it's just so empowering when we get the results that go, you know, I get these messages at midnight, go, what have you done to my child? I've been watching them for 3 hours and they're still asleep. I was like, I, I haven't done anything. You've done it. I've provided support, you know.
No, I totally agree. Like, one of the things I've always talked about is not vanilla flavoring parenting, and why with parents and babies we have an expectation that a baby is going to hit certain times at certain places, or like certain things, or have certain behaviors. You know, I mean, we do feel that expectation as adults to some degree, but I think the pressure is most on babies. Literally, as soon as they arrive, there's expectations, and if you don't fit the expectation, then there's something wrong with you, and then we're trying to fix humans. Immediately the message is, we need to fix you, we need to make you be able to sleep for this number of hours, or feed in this way, or behave in this way, or, you know, the idea of crying that is some way negative. You know, crying is just an expression. You know, babies that aren't crying are babies that aren't looking out to communicate. That actually, there, my inquiry would be, perhaps there's something that I need to look into, because my baby's not reaching out and communicating. So all of these cultural constructs and expectations around babies, this is why I get so passionate the same way as you, is from the very first moment from birth, expectation, fixing, performance, like not allowing children to simply be in their unique, beautiful nature. And also for parents as well, not allowing parents to trust their instincts and not feel that they have to compare themselves, and, you know, they can express those feelings that you're talking about, that they, you know, parents know when something is not sitting right. They're spending the most time with their babies, and they're most tuned in with the babies. They've been on this journey, you know, with their babies since conception. So mothers and fathers, but particularly mothers, I believe, can be so in tune with baby, if also mothers are given the time and space. You know, this is why we have the 40 days postnatal period, to allow mothers to deepen their understanding of their babies and recognize the absolute micro cues, you know, the physical movements of the body, where you can tell before your baby wants to go to the toilet that they're ready to go to the toilet, simply by how their body feels, the temperature of their body, everything. Like, this is the level of, you know, synchronicity between the mother baby dyad that would have been present when we carried our babies, and when we were much more in tune with ourselves, our bodies, with nature. We were much more grounded. And what's happened is we've had these cultural constructs of expectation on everything, which means that, you know, everything feels, I think, a lot harder. So it's great that you are stripping, you're kind of like taking the lid off the box, aren't you, and having a really, really good look in there. And like you say, you know, yes, parents obviously want to find some kind of solution or path for their baby to help to relieve them of pain, but that is a journey rather than, you know, like a prescription. And also it changes, doesn't it? That's the thing, because you might introduce a food later on, or there might be a different level of stress or whatever, and so whatever was working back then isn't working anymore. So I think that's the thing to be aware of. Like, you know, just again, parent of a 20-year-old, I've never had a daughter who's had a boyfriend that lives with us now. That's a new experience, you know. And when she got on a plane and flew across the halfway across the world to Bali, that had never happened to me before. Every bit of the parenting experience is unfolding in the moment, and as soon as we accept that, and as you said, I totally agree, just try to be the best version of yourself with the knowledge that you have at that time. That humility of saying, I don't know, but I want to try, and I'm curious and I'm interested to build something with you, baby, and to understand myself as my new identity as a parent. That, I think, is the magic. And for that, we need to hold space for ourselves, for our babies, and also in terms of what your wonderful like practitioners do and my teachers do, we need to hold space for parents and tell them, or invite them rather, not to tell, because it's an invitation to have that deeper awareness of what's going on for you that comes from your own body.
Exactly. And you said 3 really important words there, Gayle, which are the words I don't know. The power that they have, and this is, this is not in the situation where my husband goes, what do you think of that? I'm like, I don't know. that's a I don't know, because I actually don't like it, and I'm not telling you. That's a sort of an unempowered one. But imagine a situation where you bring your baby to the doctor and they're screaming and you've tried everything and you say, what's going on? Why is my baby screaming? Imagine if the doctor says, hand on heart, I don't know. However, let's figure this out. That's a much more empowering place to be. It's okay to not have all the answers. Like, as my husband rightly pointed out when we brought our daughter home from the hospital the very first day, he's like, she didn't come with a manual. He's like, every car I've bought has come with a manual. What do I do? What do I do with it? He's like, those antenatal classes didn't prepare me. She wasn't even 24 hours old at the time. He's like, oh, he's never driven so slowly. He was that new father on the road. I'm like going, please, will you just get us home? Like, it's this element of, we don't have all the answers. We can't possibly have all the answers. However, there is a community in this global world of connection that we now have. It used to be in your village. We're in a very, a different world, and a digital world, but there are people to connect with, you, me, the people we've trained, friends, family, to reach out to who have more knowledge. I work with my clients. I don't tell them what to do. I tell them what I observe going on for their child. It's a conversation, and it's up to them to go, oh, that makes sense, that bit doesn't. And I tell my clients every call going, look, please take what works and what makes sense from me and leave what doesn't. I'm not going to be offended, because it's your child. Pay attention. If you use a dummy and it works, great. How did you use it? If you use a dummy and it doesn't work, that's okay. Leave it to the side. It just means it doesn't work for your child. And to do that with every single other professional they come in contact with, because it should be everybody working with each other to go, that bit worked, that bit didn't. As opposed to, here's a pill, give that to your baby 3 times a day for the next indefinite period of time, and do it because I tell you to. And parents are living in fear of giving the medication because they don't know what the side effects are, what the long-term consequences are. They don't know any of that because it's not provided to them. And incidentally, I do have a freebie, which is a big, get a really big cup of tea before you sit down to read it, medications guide, giving parents all the answers to the questions they should, and first of all, the questions they should ask, but also the answers they can expect, so they can make informed decisions. Do you know when medications are the right option? Do you know if baby's on a medication, well, how do we work with them so that you can go back to the doctor and go, right, I think my baby's ready to wean from medication. How do we do this? And because it is about working with everybody's strengths. I don't know about baby massage. I don't know about a huge amount of stuff. I don't know about infant sleep. All I will say is that when we address the underlying reflux and baby is then comfortable in their body, that's when you're able to see, well, what's habitual patterns for sleep, and then work with another professional to support the habitual stuff around sleep. And I think that's what I'm saying. It's really, those 3 words, I don't know, hugely powerful. I don't know. Let's ask some more questions. Let's figure this out together and work together. And that's where the power of community comes, whether it's in person or online or virtually. We do, and I'm so grateful that I have the tools to literally communicate with the world and to work with people across the world. And parents are like, how do you not need to see my baby? And it's like, no, I'm going to ask you for some videos so I can see a little bit, but actually as a parent, your observations are far more beneficial to me for us to figure it out together.
Yeah, absolutely. The power of questions, I think, rather than instructing or telling or fixing, just the openness to respond to questions is really, really powerful.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Yeah. And I agree as well, like with in terms of, touch for babies, again, it's not uniform. Any type of physical touch provides that continuity of love and care that baby experienced in the womb, and how that actually manifests for you as a parent can be completely different. Like with baby wearing, obviously there's huge benefits there, but if physically you've had an injury through birth, or your body type, or if you've got back issues, that means that maybe that isn't in alignment with you. So releasing that judgment or expectation around that, and then finding something different. It could be lying on the sofa skin to skin, it could be co-bathing, co-sleeping, it could just be still touch, it could be breathing meditation. I love bubble meditation. It could be any of these things that are in alignment with you as a parent. And there's so much freedom in trusting yourself, honoring yourself, and listening and being open to learn, but equally internalizing it and then creating your own practice with your baby that resonates with you both. And that, I believe, will serve you for a lifetime. Because
That's incredible advice.
yeah, although even though things will change and the situation will change, that core connection, that core understanding and trust that can be developed is absolutely beautiful. It's
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. So where can people find out more about what you do, who are listening today? Because as I said, a lot of people come to baby massage as well, looking for advice or a solution. We are exactly the same. We share what we know in a way that resonates with them. And you can find out all about what we do, obviously, on Blossom and Berry, and we have free courses and resources for parents too. But where can people find out about you?
Yeah, so if they Google the Baby Reflux Lady, there's a lot that comes up, or just go to www.thebabyrefluxlady.co.uk. For some reason, the www needs to actually go in. I don't know why, and I'm trying to get it fixed in the background. We've got loads of free resources. We've got links to our practitioners who are across the world if you want that. We've got e-courses you can jump into straight away, loads of freebies. If you search Baby Reflux Lady on Amazon or any good bookstore, you'll get our book coming up. I mean, that's a guide from birth to 2 years when it comes to supporting the reflux side of things, for less than £10, and as an ebook, you can have it immediately and dive straight into it. And Instagram, Facebook, I think we're building up Pinterest and Twitter gradually. But yeah, if you search Baby Reflux Lady, you'll find me or one of my incredible practitioners, and we're available to support you, provide as much information as we can, and answer questions. Starting a YouTube channel today on just answering. I've got my team have collated a list of, at the moment, 51 most frequently asked questions that we're doing short, quick video answers to over the next few, and it will be months, but every few days we're going live. I'm going live. They set it up in the background for me because they're incredible. But to give parents the answers to the questions, the questions that they're like, well, what bottle should I use? What formula should I use? And I will tell you that these questions will be answered with the explanation of why. It's not, when you say, should I use medication for my baby? I'm not going to give you a yes, no answer. I'll give you the explanation around my justification for the yes and for the no, because it isn't a straight up answer. Every child is different.
And I love that, and I totally stand with you on that 100%. Every person is a unique expression, and the more that we embed this into absolutely everything, the more authenticity we can build in the world, and the more love and creativity we can share out there. And it's an absolute privilege to work with babies, because this is how we can nurture the future, change the future, one baby at a time. And we are the welcoming party for new humans. I want to make that experience as beautiful, as nurturing, as loving as it could possibly ever be for anybody, because why would we not want it to be anything other than that? And I think that's the
Exactly.
question we have to ask ourselves, is why would we not give like 100% of love to babies?
Yeah.
Because that's the world that I want to live in. It is a
Yeah.
world where we do have 100% love for ourselves and for others. And even when things are challenging, because life is not perfect. And as humans, we feel everything, and we will experience different emotions, but we can still choose love. Um,
Absolutely.
and yeah, I think that's a solid foundation to to build any relationship. So thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate your time. Like I say, it's taken us about 2 years to be able to connect, and I really absolutely respect all of the work that you're doing and fully support what you're doing, building your community like Blossom and Berry too. So thank you so much. And
Thank you for
yeah,
having me.
check out Anie's work, and visit our site as well, blossomandberry.com. And we'd love to know what you think about the podcast and our video today. All right, lots of love. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.